Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Scoop. World Order. Ohio State makes another huge coaching decision. Hires another defensive line coach. We're going to break all of that down. What is going on inside the Woody Hayes? They're a couple weeks out from spring ball. A little less than 2 weeks. And it's going to be time for the new team to hit the field. So we're going to break all of that down. As always, and take your questions. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like. Click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, if you guys want to help us out in a humongous way, please follow us on Apple Podcasts. We've been trying to grow that pretty rapidly, and it has been showing up that you guys have been on that. So follow us on Apple Podcasts. If you guys have an iPhone, an iPad, Mac computer, give us a follow and send us a review. But it's been pretty fantastic. So we appreciate you guys have been doing that. We're going to keep growing that thing as well. But I'm honored to bring in my good friend Nevadabuck. Nevada. Ryan Day is really exploiting, in a very positive way, the ability to add extra coaches who potentially could help them out. Potentially could be, I don't want to say a bullpen, but that's kind of what it feels like with Miguel Patrick and some of these guys. Miguel Patrick was the defensive line coach at Alabama, Birmingham, UAB. And I don't know, like when you've got the ability to hire guys and pay them a similar salary and try to build up a bullpen. I think that's a humongous flex for the top 5 to 10-ish type programs that have the money to afford to do that. But what are your initial thoughts on us bringing back Miguel Patrick from UAB to Ohio State? What does it mean to you going forward? Because again, I think that there's always this kind of succession planning with Larry Johnson because he's so old. But I don't think he's ready to give up the brass ring quite yet. But what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think this one serves kind of a number of different objectives for Ohio State. Obviously, we've talked about this expansion of staff as a way of reducing the number of players to staff ratio as a selling point for Ohio State, and they're really committed to this. And as you say, we're one of the have programs that can afford to do it. So you bring back a guy who's been here at Ohio State before, and obviously the defensive line being an area of emphasis for Ohio State makes a lot of sense. Good experienced guy, former Georgia high school football coach and defensive coordinator. So this goes to my second point, which is when you're looking at, you've talked about having your kind of regional influences, or at least having people, even if they can't be boots on the ground or tip of the spear in recruiting, when the people come in town. He's from Georgia. He went to Kennesaw State, coached high school there in Georgia. Very familiar with Georgia. And if you're recruiting players, primarily defensive players, primarily defensive linemen, you want to have guys from Georgia. That's not the only place you want to have them from, but that's one of the places that you want to have them from. So I think that's kind of the second thing that serves. And I think Ohio State's going to do this. And you've talked about, they'll probably have a guy down in, Louisiana. They'll have a guy down in Texas, or at least from there. They'll have a guy from Atlanta. I think they should have a Polynesian guy from the West Coast to recruit the bigs from the West Coast, because, Utah, Washington, Oregon, UCLA, USC feast on those big Polynesian defensive linemen. And, that's, Ohio State's had some success with that as well. So I think that's the future of this thing with coaching staffs, with the expansion of coaching staffs, the ability to allow analysts, GAs, assistants, whatever you want to call them, to be on-field coaches. In addition to the countable 10, you're going to see more and more of this. But this is kind of our, another foray into Georgia, because Georgia's been so good to Ohio State, been so important to Ohio State in the past as well as on the current staff. And I was excited to see him coming back. Again, another guy that, when he left a couple years ago, it kind of flew under the radar because it was kind of a different time. But this is a good get by Ryan Day. And as you said, he's building, quite a bullpen of guys, quite a roster of coaches, and really being able to give almost individual attention to guys on the defensive line with the number of staff that we have. And that can only bear good fruit for Ohio State in 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, I think that with this hire, you've got a guy who's been a position coach at obviously a much lesser school. UAB was defunct like 5 or 6 years ago. They had to come back from the dead. But I think that when you look at what he's done, where he's recruited at. The program's grown like since they came back to life under Charlton Delfer and whatever. But you have to, when you're Ryan, I think that he has a really good description or good thought process behind. Okay, so if we lose a certain coach, who could potentially step in and take their spot? So again, when you look at the offensive line, again, we've talked a lot about Tyler Bowen. He's coming in from Virginia Tech. He's 35 years old. He's done a really nice job as a coordinator at Virginia Tech, coaching the quarterbacks as well. But you fortify him with Charlie Dickey and Marcus Johnson. And when you go through the potential of losing a Tyler Bowen to a head coaching job or an NFL job or whatever, you've got some guys in the building that are really good at what they do. So with Larry, I mean, again, the consistent struggle with Larry Johnson is that he is old. I don't think he's that old. He's not old and debilitated, but he's a guy he's early 70s, and he's a guy that's made a lot of money. And again, I always talk to people that are just like, well, if Larry Johnson wanted to retire, he would have retired after the national. I mean, if you're ever going to retire in life and you want to, quote, go out on top and do whatever, it's like, well, the national championship game is perfect time to do it. And we won it obviously this year, and he had a huge hand in it, but he didn't retire. He didn't quit. He didn't leave the spot open because, as I've said a lot of times, and again, you have to follow sensibilities and money and everything else when I talk, but Larry, the first 30 years of his career, he didn't really make life-changing money. So I'm not trying to, and I'm not denigrating that, but that's just where the kind of the market was for his services. So again, now he's making 7 figures. He's making over $1 million a year to coach the defensive line, and he works with his son. So that's the other layer that nobody really talks about. So I'm like, well, he makes a lot of money. So people are like, oh, is he going to retire? Is he going to leave? Is he going to quit? And I'm like, well, he's making 7 figures right now to coach 4 guys. And he's got Edgercuse. He's got Caden McDonald, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson. He's got a good core coming back. And with it all being said, I'm like, dude, he's making $1 million to work with this kid. So I know that sounds crazy, but a lot of you guys have kids, and I've got 3 sons that I love to death. And if I could make a crazy amount of money to work with my kid, probably do it. Again, as opposed to going and retiring and having that feeling in your soul where you're just like, man, I turned all this money down so I could go lay on the beach. And football coaches aren't wired like that. Football coaches are a different animal because they're used to work and they're used to crazy time and not having a lot of time with the wives or the kids or whatever. So it's not quite as cut and dry as it seems when people are just like, well, he should retire because he's old and give up $100,000 or whatever. It's like, it's just not that easy. So I'm excited about him, but I think that as we keep fortifying the bullpen of Ohio State with Miguel Patrick and some of these other guys, you can say, okay, what is the succession planning? And is there a point where, Ryan, again, the benefit that Ryan has more than anybody is that, he can literally evaluate how well a guy can coach because they're allowed to legally coach. He's coming here. He can legally coach the D-line, legally suggest things, and there's no dissertation on what's fair and what's not fair. So, again, when we hire these ancillary coaches, I feel like all of them, and I mean all of them, no matter how low of an intern they are or QC analyst, whatever, they're all applying for the job every day. So if something goes sideways throughout the whole process, they can get in there and say, okay, well, we got Marcus Johnson or we got Charlie Dickey, we got whatever. And I think that's something that Ryan is really smart about because, again, he wants to, he loves to promote from within, but he also wants to get a really good evaluation on the person he's promoting. So it's not just a blind, hey, this guy seems like he's great. He did great at this school and we'll hire him and see how he fits. When you have this deep pool of analysts, you like I said, you have a whole bullpen of potential closers that could come in and seal the game up for you. So again, that's why I'm happy for Ryan because he sees the rules and how they've changed, and he sees that this could be a huge benefit for us. Nevada, what are your thoughts so we can get into We got a bunch of super chats popping up.
Well, I think it's a great point that you make, and one I haven't seen anybody else really talk about. But now that the game has changed with the on-field coaching, you really do get a chance to see what these guys can do. And before it would have been in a really limited role, or a really kind of segmented role where you're kind of looking at it. But now you're in a situation where you can really look at them, how they're relating to the players, how they're coaching the players, tactically how they're relating to them, schematically how they're relating to them, and that's getting ahead of the curve in terms of building your bench. And I think Ryan's being really, really smart about it. And I think this is going to pay huge dividends for him as he's building his staff going forward. But yeah, I just think it's a great point because, like I said, it's a different game. It's different than it was 2 years ago. It's different than it was 5 years ago. And I think Ryan's taking advantage of the rules. And I think it's great to see Ohio State be a thought leader in this.
Well, I think that it's just it's exceptionally progressive. Again, this would be like if we were talking about, well, Kirk and Nevada have a podcast and it's very successful. It's the biggest podcast in the Ohio State space. And I said, well, here's the deal. Like, I've got a new thing where I have a budget that we don't have to pay for, and Nevadabuck and I don't have to pay for out of our P&L, where we can hire as many people as we want to potentially help us be a replacement if I go on vacation, if I die, whatever. That's kind of what it's like, so like for Ryan, what are the things that could hurt Ryan the most? Like what could bring Ryan Day's downfall from Ohio State, where he's won a national title, revered by, the smart part of the fan base and the coaches. Well, what could bring him down is losing talented coaches. Now, how do you defray that? How you defray that? Because like, well, all right, I got a line coach. I got Tyler Bowden, who I like, and he's a good recruiter, and he texts a lot and Instagram messages a lot, whatever, screw it. But how can I, kind of build a little bit of a backup plan? Marcus Johnson, Charlie Dickey. I mean, Marcus Johnson coached at Mississippi State, Purdue, really, really talented kid. And Charlie Dickey was a 35-year, O-line coach. I mean, so again, if you get to the point where you're losing guys that are talented, you've got some guys that are right behind them that can be like, okay, well, Tyler Bowen might knock it out of the park this year. And all of a sudden he's a head coach at Bowling Green or Akron or whatever. You're like, well, who are we going to hire for the line coach? Well, we've got a couple guys in the building that have been good. Excuse me. And the best part about all of it is the fact that with the with the lift of the ban on the accountable coaches is like Ryan Day can walk around and watch Charlie Dickey coach our offensive guards, centers, tackles. He can watch Marcus Johnson coach them, how they interact with recruits. So it's like, when there was this former prevailing notion of you being on the staff, but you're not allowed to really count. Like I said, when I was a quality control coach, like as great as it was to be a QC, it was the most miserable portion of my young life because I wasn't allowed to coach. Not legally. Now, again, I know a lot of people do it illegally, but like in terms of me getting out there and really getting into it and helping kids and running drills, like totally illegal. So, now none of that's illegal. So if Ryan Day's walking around and he sees Tyler Bowen with the whole line, and then they split it up to Marcus Johnson, Charlie Dickey, and they got different guys running different groups, like you can see, okay, who's proficient, who's good, who do I need to hire, who do I need to retain, and then kind of away it goes. Again, we haven't heard anything about Tim Drevno officially, but I would imagine he's not back this year just because when Ryan was asked about the offensive line, it was Tyler Bowen, Marcus Johnson, and Charlie Dickey. There was no mention of Tim Drevno. So, but when you don't have that firm guy coming back, then it can get a little hairy. But I love Ryan building a bullpen for guys he could hire in case he loses people, because that's the easiest way for everything to go sideways. And like when you have a budget where you can bring people into the program and it doesn't cost anything out of your pocket, but you can kind of evaluate them throughout the season, then if somebody takes up and say, well, I want this guy because he did a great job for us last season and he worked really hard and so I'm going to give him the bump to be a coordinator or a position coach or whatever. So again, I think that Ohio State expanding that bench is going to be nothing but a huge positive for Ryan Day, because his biggest issue going forward is like his talent leaving. And you can defray that when you've got a bunch of guys kind of, Joe Philbin and a lot of these guys have been the assistant line coaches, kind of expanding their roles and doing what they can do because there's no coaching restrictions anymore. Nevada, any thoughts to that? We'll dig into some super chats.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, Ryan's going to be facing what Saban faced. And Saban faced, mass attrition of his staffs every year. And the reason Saban is the GOAT is because he was able to figure that out. And he was able to go through offensive line coaches, I don't know how many different DCs or OCs. And every year we kept waiting for it to affect him. And we'd be like, hey, it's got to affect him this year, right? And recruiting and everything. Nope, never did. He was the one constant, and just a truly great football coach. And I think Ryan's going to be facing the same challenges. You're right, because as you have success, you're going to get your staff poached. You're going to get your staff poached by other college football teams and by the NFL. And you look at this year, we lost our offensive line coach, we lost our offensive coordinator, we lost our defensive coordinator. Now we're yet to see how we've done with the changes. We don't know. We feel like, we've graded the changes and we feel like they're, good, solid hires. But it's not like, it's hard for Ryan to blow it at this point in time. It's not like Ryan went out and hired, somebody who's never done it before, or hired the janitor or something. So they all look good on paper, but we got to see how they do when the bullets start flying for real. So I just view this as, I've always believed that once Ryan won one national championship, he was ready to go on a dynastic tear. I've said I will stay. I'm committed to that. I really firmly believe that. I think he's going to go from a really good, very, very, very good college coach to great. And I think that he's going to win multiple national championships at Ohio State, and he's going to lose a lot of staff. And the good news is he's smart enough to see that. He's already taking staffs to kind of combat that. And I'm excited to see how it worked out in 2025. But I think this is the right way to do it. If you were going to try to do it, have the deepest bench possible, and this would be the first step towards doing that.
Yeah, I think that it's progressive. And again, does that mean that you're going to find your coordinator? No. His DC came from complete left field with Matt Patricia, so it wasn't like there was somebody sitting in the rafters who's like, oh, I could be the DC for Ohio State, and he hired him. But I think that having a deep bench is really progressive by Ryan. And I think that paying those guys a lot of money is a very progressive move. And I think it's smart because, like, again, you're going to be losing a lot of good people. But, Ryan, the thing about Ryan is he's been as heavy as he could possibly be on promoting from within, with Billy Fessler becoming his quarterback's coach and Keenan Bailey becoming the tight ends coach and the co-OC. There's a lot of these guys have been guys that have been around the program. They've been kind of Geppettos doing nothing, and then all of a sudden they get promoted to full-time roles. So I think that that's very attractive to a lot of these guys that are looking around for what they can do and how they can grow, and kind of the rest of the show. All right, Nevada, we got our first super chat. Jobs like Johnny, thanks for the deuce. He says, need a breakdown of Mike Katic's bar pass pro reps. Nevada, do you have any idea what that means?
I don't. I don't. But it says pass pro reps. So that
Mike Katic or Katic.
This good.
So let's see what that means.
Let's see who that is. Are we going to the Google machine now?
Well, I'm looking right now to see if I can find it. The Mike Katic post-game interview, okay. So it's this big fat guy. I think I know who this is. So this is a big fat guy who was like went viral because he was in the middle of the of some bar, and he's like kick sliding around, and people are like, who is this guy who's like sliding around like you're doing a kick slide in the middle of a bar? And I was like, well, for one, he's trash, because if he tried to kick slide me like that, I'd eat his lunch. But let me see if I can find his video, because it was like he was like real hardcore about it. it was kind of funny, but so I'm searching for his this video where I think it's him. It's this big fat guy kick sliding in the bar, but I don't know if this is I don't know if it's gonna pop. So I searched for him. I don't see it, but I think that it's him. But again, I'm looking at
It could have been another big fat guy.
Yeah, but this is a really big fat guy, so it could be somebody else. I mean, like they're pegging it as Mike Katic, but it's funny because I only thought when I saw his photo that it was like, oh, this is probably him because he's a big fat dude. I mean, honestly, like to be real, it looked like Justin Bourne. This looked like Justin Bourne's like long lost brother. Just type in fat guy pass protection in bar. Did not show up. Fat guy pass pro in bar. I can't find it because like I think that this is what it is. It's bar pass protection. I'm trying to find this clip because people will be like, oh yeah, this is this big fat guy like sliding around in the bar, but can't find it. I mean, I don't even know what to search for because it's just this big fat guy taking pass pro reps in the middle of the bar. And he looks terrible. Like he looks like a 2-star athlete, but I was like, he really looks like Justin Bourne. And again, I coach Justin Bourne, so I know exactly what he looks like. So
isn't he like part of Barstool? Like he's a Barstool guy now?
I mean, if they signed him the last day, but I don't think initially.
Yeah, no, I think they signed him off the video fame.
Shut
Mike
up! Did they
Katic.
really?
I think so.
There's no way.
Google Barstool Mike Katic, Katic, and you'll see.
Former center lives on Purdue 5 days ago. There's nothing that shows this video though. You know. I mean, I hate that I can't find this because it looks like Justin Bourne. I was like, this is like Justin Bourne, like pass protection in bar. I don't know if I'll ever be able to find it. So I was really looking for this big fat guy to like be kick sliding, but I can't find it. So yeah, I apologize that I can't find. I don't want to drag this down anymore, but it's like he was like kick sliding around in the bar, and it just looked terrible, and he looked just like I swear to God, I thought it was Justin Bourne. You know, pass pro bar. So I found it. Son of a buck, I found it. All right. So again, this guy looks like Justin Bourne. So this is Mike Katic, who is a big fat guy. And again, I like Justin a lot, but I mean, they look like twins. Like if someone said, Kirk, is this Justin Bourne? I'd lose every bet. Because it looks like Justin Bourne. So it's this big fat guy in the bar. Okay. All right. So big fat guy kick sliding in the bar. And he walks back. I mean, he looks just like Justin Bourne. Kick slide, walking back, built like Justin. I mean, looks like a guard who's never played tackle before, trying to play tackle. So again, that's it. So again, would he get served by any good defensive lineman? Yes, he'd probably die with that trash mustache. But I literally thought it was Justin Bourne, but it wasn't. So he like takes like 2 kicks or 3 kicks, and like I said, he's like a guard trying to play tackle. So there you go. There, I found it after an hour's worth of work. So breaking it down, if he went against anybody good or twitched up, he'd get killed. Again, he looks like a guard who's never played tackle before, trying to take a tackle set. But he's built like Justin Bourne. Like when he walked back, I swear to God, I thought it was Justin. So, Nevada, any thoughts on Mike Katic's bar pass pro reps?
I mean, look, he looked pretty good to me. But see, this is the difference between the amateur and the All American. Looking at bar fat guy pass protection reps, you know what I'm talking about. I think next time you go to Twin Peaks, you should get out there, wear the Barton jersey, and do a little few kick slide reps there, and we'll film them, and we'll do the side by side with these guys and compare them.
Well, I mean, well, for one, I'm not gonna ever kick slide again for the rest of my life, and for two, I'm already established. Like I don't need to kick slide and do whatever. But like I just, and again, I'm not denigrating Justin, but like this guy's like to kick slide in a bar when you're washed is kind of stupid. I mean, it's like you're the guy you're already washed, you're done, you're trash, and you're kick sliding in the bar. It's like that's when nobody knows that you ever played football, you're just some big fat whale, then you can kind of do that kind of stuff. But I do have some different kind of perspective on it all. Harash Chinasami, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. Which under the radar defensive lineman do you see, or have you guys heard, going to be major impacts next season? Thank you for the show. Appreciate you, my dude. Nevada, I'll let you go first on this.
Well, under the radar defensive lineman. I mean, you know, let me think. Let me go through my notes here, because hold on here. Let me just check, because I have a nugget up from the first Wiseman, and he gave me a list of names. So let me check on a name here if I got any defensive linemen. You know, I mean, under the radar, look, I think it's a position that right now with Ohio State, I don't think we have enough data for me to really to go in on anybody. I mean, I'm looking at my 4 being, Kenyatta and Caden Curry and Edric and Caden. Um, I'd love to say Tyrone Malone, but I don't know if he's done anything to really merit that yet, and you know, he's one of the guys that we paid money in the transfer portal, hoping that when he focused, went from two, he was a guy, 5-star or whatever he was coming out of high school, and he's just never really amounted to much. I mean, I like all the incoming freshmen. I think they're going to be good, but we just don't have any data on them to really know if they're going to be good yet or not. So I don't know if I can really give I could give you a name, but it would just be given a name because I haven't seen enough from anybody to really know. I mean, look, the most under the radar guy that's the surest superstar is Cade McDonald. I mean, Cade McDonald is a guy that is absolutely Tyleek Williams Part 2, and going to be a household name. If he's not, he's a household name with you guys because we talk about this stuff. But he'll be a household name throughout the Big Ten and throughout the nation here by the end of the year, because he's a guy that's a potential 10-year plus guy in the NFL going forward. One of those rare big bodies that we got out of the South. So I guess it's under the radar is a good. I'd go with Cade McDonald, but I'll throw it back to the All American. Maybe you've got somebody else that you like better.
Say Eric Mensa and CJ Hicks. I think pass rushers, guys that can get after the quarterback. I think I think CJ has to move to defensive end so we can get something out of him. I think Eric Mensa is the guy that's potentially ready to contribute, but I think CJ is the guy that really has to. This is it. I mean, this is his last year. This is the last draw. Like if he wants to play football after his freshman, or excuse me, after his Ohio State career, like he has to go get it this year because he's been nothing so far. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's you've had Sonny in front of you and Cody Simon and everybody else, but I think it's time for him to go eat and do what he can do. So I'm gonna say CJ Hicks. Jim Dushaw, appreciate you, brother. I hope you're doing good, my friend. Thanks for the 50. I'm used to the old Coach Hayes days, Stone Age, let's call it. You have what you have to coach the team as long as you have some grad assistance. What do you think about this new era? You coached in it. Do you like it? What are the pluses and the minuses? Well, I think that a major plus for a lot of these guys is that these coaches that are these ancillary accountable coaches, they get paid good. I mean, James Laurinaitis, when he was a grad assistant, was making $200,000, and I'm like, dude, That's almost like I made 17,000. And again, not complaining. I don't care. I'm doing great now. But like, you know, there's one thing to work, 100 hours a week and make 17 grand versus making 200 grand. So again, I think that the salary structure, the lifting of the limitations on coaching, like you could hire, I mean, if you would hire 3 full-time line coaches and pay them each 500 grand, you can do it. There's no laws against it. They can all work. They can all be the same thing. And where is that a nice addition? It's nice when you lose somebody. Like if Tyler Bowen crushes it, say we win the national championship and we're first in the nation in rushing, and he gets veneers and he's some sort of vagabond amazing coach, like he could get hired. And so all of a sudden you're like, well, who's gonna be our next line coach? Well, we've got Marcus Johnson, Charlie Dickey on the staff, and Ryan Day and Brian Hartline have been around him for a year. So again, if something goes sideways, then you got a couple of coaches that you're probably paying 250 grand a year to coach and promote one of them, make one of them your line coach. So that's the beauty of this current staff and this alignment where, I mean, you never really have to go out and find guys. And if I'm Ryan, excuse me, and I'm worried about somebody popping like Brian Hartline, like if I'm worried about Brian Hartline getting a head coaching job, well, let's hire a really good wide receiver coach and have him work as the understudy for Brian. And he's on staff for, 150, 200 grand. And he coaches the receivers. And then, if Brian takes off, then you already have kind of a fallback plan. So again, that's the best part about the current configuration of college football. Nevada, your thoughts? What do you think about the new era of grad assistants and the pluses and minuses of the coaching staffs?
Well, I don't think there's very few minuses. It's all pluses. It's pluses. The only minus are for the programs that don't have them. And for Ohio State, it's quickly becoming a game of haves and have-nots, and rich and poor. And Ohio State is the rich program. Ohio State is the have, and we're fans of a have, so it's great. Now, if I was a fan of Purdue, or a fan of Indiana, then I might have a different perspective on this. But at Ohio State, it's only good. I mean, we can sell staff to player ratio. We can sell individual attention. We can sell having people from close to people's hometown. We can hire high school coaches. I mean, there's just so many things that you can do. And as we talked about before earlier in the show, you can build your bench. So, like I said, I think it's a plus for Ohio State. It may be a minus for college football because it may be driving this bigger wedge between the programs. But again, at the end of the day, do I really care about that? I'm a fan of Ohio State. I mean, I love college football, but I love, 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 love Ohio State. And we're holding aces right now, and so I'm all about this new world order. And
Yeah.
back to that previous
Go ahead.
question, Jason Moore. That Jason Moore was the name I was thinking about. That's a young defensive lineman that I really like a lot. So wanted to throw that out there.
All right, Tyler Kersey, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, Kirk. Nevada, any previews for Thursday's NCAA response to the team up north? Nevada, do you have anything on that?
Well, no, I mean they're just basically they're countering everything. I mean, Michigan's assertion on this was that because the stringers that Connor Stallions directed to provide the film were friends and family and not direct employees of Michigan, that they don't fall under the rules, and the NCAA is completely blowing that out of the water with, obviously that's using a third party to try to circumvent existing statutes. Just doesn't work legally. It doesn't work anywhere in the world, and it sort of doesn't work in this regard. Um, the other thing that they were really trying to make a big deal is that there was no malicious intent in the destruction of the evidence by Sharon Moore. And the NCAA was just pointing to the fact that, well, if there wasn't a malicious intent, why did he do it? And it clearly, a destruction of evidence is really not about the evidence; it's about the act, and that's kind of what got Trussell. I mean, it was about the act of not reacting to that disbarred lawyer's emails and trying to do. I mean, same thing with Sharon Moore. So that's basically the essence of the response. But There's a lot of legalese. There's a lot of things that they're responding to, because you have to remember, Michigan tried to pull apart every part of the NCAA's case on this, but the NCAA has been well aware of what Michigan's trying to do, and Michigan really doesn't have any kind of a defense. So pretty easy response for them. The people that I talked to, the NCAA, don't seem particularly troubled by anything that Michigan came up. It wasn't like they came up with some novel legal theory that that the NCAA hadn't heard of before or hadn't thought of, and Michigan really doesn't have much protection on this, and that's why they're in such deep trouble.
Yeah, they're really, really dumb. So it'll be interesting to see how it all goes down. RJ Story, Pink Floyd piano cover artist. Make sure you guys follow him on YouTube. His show, or excuse me, his page is amazing. Another brick in the wall, always fire. He plays it in piano. It looks, it's exquisite. So make sure you guys listen to it. He says, thanks for the 10. I appreciate you, RJ. He says, looks like James Peoples is RB1 and CJD, which is CJ Donaldson, is RB2. As of now, who's the best bet for RB3? Bo Jackson, Sam Williams, Dixon, Turbo Rogers, Isaiah West, TC, Caffey, Nevada OH. CJ Donaldson, who we paid a lot of money to come here from West Virginia, is going to be our RB2, but I'd say Bo Jackson. He's here. He's locked in. He's a much more talented player than Sam Williams Dixon. Turbo's not here yet. Isaiah West, I think that Bo's going to get the lion's share of the carries to be RB3. So we'll see how he does. But what are your thoughts, Nevada? Best bet for RB3: Bo Jackson, Sam Williams, Dixon, Turbo Rogers, Isaiah West, or TC Caffey? What are your thoughts?
I'd probably go with Sam Williams Dixon, just because the Bo Jackson injury, and and how that kind of affects everything. And Sam Williams Dixon kind of deciding, putting himself in the portal and deciding to come back. That had to be for a reason. That wasn't just to come back and be the fifth string running back. He had to see a path to the field, and actually did well in limited action and good practice player. So I'd go with him as RB3. But certainly that's wide open, something that we'll be monitoring closely through the spring.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I think we got all of these. Nevada, I think we can wrap this thing. Any final thoughts, Nevada, as we wrap the show up?
Well, big news: our Buckeye Scoop brew coffee may be retailing. We may be in Kroger's, so which is pretty exciting. So if you like coffee and you want to support, pay it forward. Buckeye Scoop Brews. Go to BuckeyeScoopBrew.com. We've got 3 different types of coffee, all roasted here in the United States, packaged and roasted here, and very excited about a breakfast blend, black and tan, and French roast. So you've got all your favorites. Try it out, because we really want you guys to try it out and let us know what you think. You're like, hey, I liked it. Hey, I didn't. We'll accept any and all feedback on this, but check it out, BuckeyeScoopBrew.com. Get your coffee. I mean, we have so many coffee drinkers. We've been overwhelmed with the number of orders we've been getting. Yeah, but anything you can do to help out, it's been absolutely fantastic. But help us out, support it, and do a good thing. And good thing at the same time, support, pay it forward. So thanks for your support.
Yep. Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, the Buckeye Scoop Brew is really cool, and it's been a fun little partnership, and we got a bunch more coming. So we appreciate you guys. But if you do something huge for us, please leave us a follow, leave some comments, because I always like the feedback, and follow us on Apple Podcasts. So again, I appreciate you guys. Shout out to our all of the people that support this community, between the firefighters, the police officers, first responders, and obviously our great military members. We appreciate you guys as always. If you guys think you're eligible for a Pay It Forward membership, shoot us an email, buckeyescoop@gmail.com. The Pay It Forward fund has been helping fund those, and we've got a ton of new members. So thank you for that. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. We'll see you at 7:10 tomorrow. Go Bucks.